All right, today we're going to be breaking down a lot of tokens for you. We're going to be doing a full trading breakdown, so you guys don't want to miss it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. It is going to be a fun one today. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. If you're looking at long-term holding and you want to do it in a crypto IRA, you can jump into iTrust Capital, roll over an existing IRA, or maybe even start a new one. Very easy to get going over there. You get a $100 funding reward if you use our link. And remember, this is where we get into tax season, so things can start getting a little bit more laid in on how your strategies are being used for taxes for 2024. So iTrust is a great place to start. Just go to itrustcapital.com. We're going to get into all things crypto today. Of course, we're going to lead off with Bitcoin and ETH, and then we'll roll into what's happening over within the Solana ecosystem. So joining me, coming in remote, is Mr. Evan Aldo. How you doing?
Oh, excellent. Great to be on. It was at Token 2049, met a lot of great people, really pumped about, altcoin season, this Fed rate, the stars are aligning, Paul, the stars are aligning.
Hey, listen, the 50, I'm just kind of curious, did the 50 surprise you, Evan?
Yeah, it did. I mean, why
Yeah.
would you, it seems a little weird to cut by 50 basis points when the S&P 500 is almost at an all-time high. I mean, that seems a little, yeah.
I think jobs
I don't
are.
think,
I think they got an inside track on jobs, and they understand it's not slowing down in terms of job loss, which means. And
sure.
even Powell talked about, like, I think it was a 4.2 potential unemployment rate of them trying to get into a correction zone. So they still feel that 2025 is a problem. Here was GR Dector talking about this Fed meetings coming up, and this is kind of interesting right here. No Fed meeting next month, but November 5th we have the election, and then on the 7th, 2 days later, we're going to have an FOMC meeting and possibly a rate cut with a new president. Maybe. I doubt that we'll actually know who the president is by that time. And then December
It,
18th, we'll also get another FOMC meeting and potentially another 25 basis points. So that would be a full basis points in less than 90 days. How much of an impact do you think that has on Bitcoin right now with what we've seen just in a short run?
I think it would help out Bitcoin. I think it would definitely help Bitcoin kind of see, altcoins see kind of their bottom against Bitcoin a lot that we can look at. I mean, in addition to that, another thing I just want to talk about is, we had inflation for a long time creeping on us. Let's say,
Mm-hmm.
what if this 50 basis point cut is a little bit too much and we see some bad
A
inflation numbers
reversal.
over the next month? What
Yeah.
then we see more pauses and other things. Then what happens? Maybe market tends to
That
come
would
down
be an
election.
absolute nightmare. Yeah, if we see a
So I
reversal
wouldn't get
because you're
hopes
setting up
up.
for stagflation.
I think there may be a little bit more of that. I mean, it definitely depends. It's hard to say. I mean, we saw Trump say it was completely political just to help the markets pump up right into to help Kamala out. We'll see what happens. So yeah, I mean, I could show you over on the chart just what I want to like. We could look at the fundamentals through the charts. This is the chart others, which is everything outside of the top 10 market cap versus Bitcoin. So essentially, we saw everything essentially, not everything, but a lot of things really bleed against Bitcoin since January of 22 right here. And now we're seeing what looks to be a double bottom right here. And you're seeing on Market Cipher, you have your money flow. Finally, you can see it come up for the first time in a while, come up. And you're seeing as price is making a lower low here, all the way from back here, you're seeing a bullish divergence. So this could be the start of something huge, maybe a, nice rally upward into 2025 where we see the average altcoin, let's say outperform Bitcoin by 200% at least, maybe even more. I mean, this
Mm.
generally does come up against Bitcoin. This is like looking at the Bitcoin chart in itself. It generally keeps outperforming Bitcoin. So this may be that, perfect stars aligning time to get into altcoins. In general, last time we went crazy against Bitcoin was December of 2020. So kind of in the 4 year cycle, exactly 4 years later, we're getting to the end of 2024. We might be right there, right there. This
Yeah.
could be that time to really get into alts.
But I want to jump into your opinion on Bitcoin kind of leading the way here. MicroStrategy seems to be all in on this. They're basically commissioning another billion for Bitcoin acquisitions. I think he ended up grabbing another 472 million this morning at around 61K, or maybe it was last night, 61K. But the point being, what is your chart right now with Bitcoin pressing 63 and 64 over the last 24? What does it look like maybe over the next week to 10 days?
I think there's a good shot that we could continue bullish into the end of the month. Absolutely. I mean, The first thing I want to show you here on the weekly is we're getting a trigger wave. It's the third one we had. The previous two right here didn't give us much. We kind of just stayed range bound, came down, jumped off of 48K, nice liquidation cascade, came back up. Same thing on this trigger wave. You came down. Usually the third time is the charm. When two things don't play out, the third time is the charm. And the next place we could be looking at here to potentially hit could be all the way up at around 68, 69K, which I think is pretty likely into the end of the month. I mean, if we don't hit it by the end of the month, I think some point in October, you got a good shot of continuing this lineup, getting up to, September 24th at the earliest, probably 69K, that big area. Now, when we zoom out a little bit, this is a huge area, this big, area right here with the logarithmic spiral line. So my kind of guess here, I mean, take this with a grain of salt, but we get to this point, and then maybe once we get into November, we don't get the inflation news that we want to see. And then maybe the Fed doesn't cut until early next year again. And we stay range bound 64K or something into December, maybe back to 60K into those areas. And then finally, kind of following maybe the 4-year cycle, then you're finally kind of home free, maybe up to 100K. Earliest, in my opinion, maybe I'm a little bit too pessimistic compared to some people, but earliest for 100K, in my opinion, maybe April of next year. So, I mean, I wouldn't bet on things just going so crazy just yet immediately. I mean, but I think generally we're still going to, be in that recovery mode. Everybody's looking at the 4-year cycle too. And the 4-year cycle is, the most basic thing that we've all looked at. And a lot of people, this is the only main pattern that people that don't really know much about charts or much about technical analysis have made life-changing amounts of wealth with. And let me just show you Bitcoin. This is a good chart to look at. Bitcoin versus the DXY, which is a good indicator of Bitcoin versus the power of the dollar. If you really look at this, we still haven't made a new all-time high. We would have had to come up just a little bit higher to make a new all-time high than what we've seen. And the place we are right now here, I kind of mapped it out. This blue line essentially is where we are in the cycle. December of 2020, you went parabolic. And then the 4 years before that, it took a little bit longer. This was new all-time high here, but essentially if we move this over, I just want to move this over to kind of where we are right now, we would be, kind of at the end of 2016. You had your drop off right in August, September, you had some red there, and then you went kind of parabolic. So looking at this cycle and also looking at the end of 2020 going parabolic, we're actually right in that area, that September of 2022. So it's kind of that same FUD that we saw 4 years ago and then 4 years before that. So I think a lot of people are looking at that area and they're also, getting excited. They're looking at the Fed pivoting. The stars are kind of aligning. So, I think the biggest thing, like you mentioned, Paul, that could kind of, maybe, there's always going to be a bearish case. The biggest thing that could kind of mess us up here, unemployment keeps going up and you have more inflation fears. What if the numbers for inflation come out terrible next month? That's the big fear, I think.
Let's take a look at ETH, Evan. Speculation right now on that DeFi will drive Ethereum's network activity if we see the bull market persist. And this is something that everybody's looking at. We start to see interest rates come down. People are going to say, all right, listen, I'm only getting 2-3% maybe within the next 18 months. I'm going to look for a new alternative for my dividends. And maybe that is Ethereum and going out to stake on ETH, etc. If you look at where ETH is right now, granted it has come up to around 2,500, do you like ETH as a play right now, or is this still got a long way to go?
I more than like it as a play. I really love ETH as a play. I mean, the stars are aligning for ETH right now. And it's even looking a bit more bullish than Bitcoin at the moment, because look at right here, what you're getting on the 2 weeks. See this VWAP, this yellow line, it's coming up. When it comes up, you get the green dot. You form the trigger wave. We call this the trigger wave right here. Now let's look at the last time this kind of happened. This was, I would call this the first half of our bull run here. This was 150% upward. I think you got a good shot of replicating something of this nature. I don't know if it'll be that, crazy and like it was into the early 24, but I think you might be able to, easily get up to that 5,800. You got a lot of resistance around, 7K right here. So I think it's a really, really great play in general right now. If we look at the weekly, the same type of thing. Very similar to how it was about exactly a year ago, right in this area. You had your two kind of anchor waves forming, bullish divergence right here, and then weekly. So, I mean, don't get mad at me if we, bounce around a little bit more, come down, scare away. Maybe you could even come down to 2000. I don't know, into the end of the year. It's possible. But I think this whole area into early next year is just going to be a huge DCA opportunity for an eventual breakout to most likely new all-time highs. So that's what's looking really good in ETH. And the last thing I want to show you quickly on ETH is ETH versus Bitcoin, which is, this has scared away a lot of people because it's bled just so much against Bitcoin. But what you're seeing right now is you're just seeing us hit like a really big area, 0.037. This is see kind of these in technical analysis. We look at previous kind of places where price broke above and held, like this area. Now you're testing it. So unless you're really bearish in ETH and you think it's going to go back down to the evaluations it was in 2020, then, it would most likely break upward here. And what we're seeing as well is like, well, monthly, where was it? The 3 week here, yeah, you're getting so deep. Look at this money flow. Look at the bottom here for this money flow. Yeah. Very similar to how it was in January of 2020 before you went on an epic ride against Bitcoin. I mean, 400% against Bitcoin. So 400% plus the money that you make in terms of just general valuation. So, I'm not telling you to convert all your Bitcoin into Ethereum right now, but I think if someone's going to, with good risk management, it's a good place in the 4-year cycle to consider things of that nature.
I like it as a risk management move for sure. We're going to get into a lot of altcoins here on the Solana ecosystem for you guys. Make sure and like the video. Take some time right now, step aside and say, hey, if you guys want more videos like this, trading with Evan, doing some analysis on what to watch for, make sure and hit that like button. It does help out the video, and that helps other people kind of discover what's happening in crypto. Early version of the long-awaited Fire Dancer was launched on mainnet. So now it's not the full, the full Cuban cigar. But hey, listen, the fact is that we've got mainnet and Fire Dancer in the same sentence, which is a very positive thing for Solana, because I think a lot of people with what has been happening with Fire Dancer just over the last little bit, of course, they talk about a little bit in the article. Early version of the validator client is now dubbed Frankendancer, is launching on Solana mainnet. The validator is now live on testnet, which is the full version. But the prototype for the full Fire Dancer validator is going to be going. So the interesting point here is that Solana has already surged up quite a bit. I think we're up around 150, above back 150. Is this, or do you feel that, is this the window for Solana to go back to $200?
Well, let's take a look. I mean, most likely, probably yes. I mean, it's jumped up to kind of this area. 150 is going to be a huge psychological area. We're hitting a speed bump right here. When we zoom out on this, nothing looks overly bad just yet. I mean, you got your trigger wave on the daily. This is generally pretty good. Last one we had here, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be this good, but if it's like the last one we had, something like that, you could be looking at, that 187. You get a spider line at 200 that you could hit. I mean, this is, a longer term thing, maybe November into there. That's possible, but yeah, generally it looks pretty good. And you look at, that, also that wave, you could even make the argument that's almost similar to that area. I mean, look at kind of what we've been in. It's just a very range bound, situation here. Descending wedge, these generally break upward. It's most likely going to break upward. It's just a matter of when. Does it break upward now and get up to, 234? Or do we wait until, maybe even early next year and then break upward there? And then it takes longer to get to these higher numbers into, middle to later next year. So that's the kind of the big question here. I think this just long consolidation I think we may be in for this long consolidation just a little bit longer, but I would, if I had to guess over the weekend, maybe a little bit more bearish to sideways, down a little bit, maybe even retesting 142. And then I think he got a good shot at 162. If Bitcoin could get to the high 60Ks, at least 160 by the end of the month, I think. So, yeah.
Let's talk about Jupiter. So let's pull up the chart on Jupiter Exchange. They're expanding now with new acquisitions. We've talked about Jupe for probably about the last year here. It's a really great exchange if you're trading inside the Phantom wallet. What does the chart show right now in Jupe? Because it's been suppressed for about the last 6 months.
So it's not, it's going to be a riskier play. The smaller market caps, the new ones are always riskier plays. The big area that we want to hold is right around 70 cents right here, which is pretty good that we're doing that. We're seeing a first time ever a bullish div on your 5-day, you can see momentum waves coming up, which is a really bullish sign. It's a really good sign. Sometimes these newer tokens, they could play with you, and you got to be careful with these, but it does look pretty good. I mean, for a longer term, double bottom right here, if you can break upward from that, you may be headed up to new all-time highs or back to that $2 mark, into potentially end of this year, early next year. I'm guessing something of this nature. I don't think it's going to be that crazy over here, but if I had to guess here, I think you got a good shot at something like this. You got the wave right here too on the weekly. That's the first time. I mean, the stars really are aligning. It's not too often you see charts that look this, this bullish, but it is, it's that nice double bottom area, right in line with the Fed pivoting. It's almost like too good to be true, but yeah, I don't think it's good to be true. I think, just where we are in the first cycle, I think that you got a good shot going up here. I mean, if you want some crazy predictions like, market cycle tops, where you could end up with this, from where we are right now, I mean, a 5-6x, not impossible, up to $5 maybe.
Let's jump over to a couple of DPINs out there. DPIN is being touted as the kind of the next potential promising approach to infrastructure. So this may move into a lot of different areas. Render, of course, is one of our DPIN picks. And of course, they were at breakpoint. And Render Network, what do you like? Is this one that you would say, let's get into while it's down, or what's your opinion on this one?
Yes. I mean, this is, it looks like a lot of the other things. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, you saw it looks similar to over here. I mean, you came down, you got your correction, you consolidated a little bit, and then you recovered. You got that trigger wave right here. You're starting to form the same trigger wave right there on the 2-week. So that's going to be really good for the macro. And then, I think you got a good shot of kind of repeating maybe a situation like this, something of that nature, maybe all the way up to around $17, $18, excuse me. That's a fib level that I drew out earlier. And if you look at some of these lower time frames, just textbook situation. I mean, it's a weird kind of, for traditional TA, weird reverse head and shoulders situation kind of forming here. From the neckline, you could kind of draw a technical target. These highs at $11 seems like where we could potentially end up if you follow that trajectory. End of October, maybe. I mean, it could jump up quicker potentially, but into the end of the year, I think you got a good shot at $11, and then into sometime, probably, I mean, best case scenario, maybe November, December, $18, but probably would take a little bit longer. I'd say early to mid next year, getting up to that, $17 mark. Oh yeah, looking at this, I mean, that's 200% upward. So probably Q2 at least, I would say, but you never know. Sometimes, with the news and everything, they could shoot up quickly. So yeah, it does look very good. Yes.
Render, it's been one of those that, and a lot of our traders have been in it for almost 2 years now, so they're kind of camping out on it. I want to get into some of the meme tokens that could explode with the Solana ecosystem doing so well right now, obviously because of breakpoint. WIF is one that we've talked about before. They've got a little bit of move here with some accumulation, and the fact that they're earning a little bit, but also I want to talk about POPCAT, but can you pull up the WIF chart real quick and let's take a look at that one. See what your thoughts are.
Yeah, let's take a look at the WIF chart. I got it right here. And so big area that we're playing around with right here, it's similar to that Jupiter, actually. A lot of these like bubble pop patterns kind of. So you came down to this area. I mean, here there wasn't much to bounce off of, but we bounced off of the July lows, which look really good. We keep making kind of higher lows with the momentum waves on the 4-day. That looks great. Getting some bullish divs here on the 3-day. That looks really good. So trigger waves, the stars are aligning. I mean, these charts, you don't see, like, this is just textbook market cipher. Good curvature, trigger wave right there. This would be theoretically the best possible time to buy, based on these techniques. I mean, that doesn't mean we can't, consolidate or come down lower. It is a meme token. Let's be real. It can go to zero. Anything could happen with these, but you got a good shot of getting back up to those all-time highs, having a nice rally up to $3, if not more. I mean, if you want crazy high predictions for some time by the end of next year, I mean, sky's the limit. I guess it can go up a 5 to 10x, 7x up to these highs. $15 is possible. It's a small market cap. I mean, I would be, slowly getting out on the way up there, but yeah,
sure.
It's good.
Speaking of skyrocketing, one of the tokens that has been skyrocketing has been POPCAT. It's pretty much finding blue ocean right now. And a lot of people are predicting that this could hit $2 billion if we get a $2 billion valuation or market cap with POPCAT, I mean, we're getting into legendary meme coin status here. So if you look at the POPCAT chart, Evan, I mean, what's the likely? What do you think? First of all, do you see an upside for this thing? Because this thing is nuts.
It looks a bit different than a lot. I mean, it's new. It's a really new thing, so it's going to be a little bit harder. I mean, the big points are basically these fib levels right here. I mean, you're getting kind of a, from this formation, from this range bound area, if you break upward, you got a good shot at getting up to, somewhere between $1.45 all the way up to $2 right here, like that big pocket. I think he got a good shot at that. There's not too much data here. It's tough to kind of say, but it does look like it'll generally keep its kind of bullish trajectory here. I would get more afraid if you kind of lose like this trend line. So if you're like losing 63 cents, that's where it would get more afraid. So, I mean, what you could do is on TradingView, set like a notification right here, set an alarm for this, when it hits that line, then kind of get, reevaluate. But 2-day money flow coming up, trigger wave right there. I mean, it should go up higher, but yes, it's a meme coin. Obviously anything can happen. I mean, you probably got a good shot at a 2 or 3x at least. I mean, we'll reevaluate it from there. I don't want to say anything higher than that.
There you go. All right. Okay, so just so everybody knows, listen, when you're trading meme tokens, you're not necessarily in some of the core ecosystems. You have to remember that. Obviously, this is not trading advice or even financial advice, but the point is always get out there, do your research, and you kind of have to keep your ear to the ground. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, that's the way you keep your ear to the ground, because we're always talking about this stuff. Last token I want to hit on is the gaming, I would say the gaming lead for Solana, though there is not a ton of them. And that, of course, is getting into Star Atlas. Star Atlas had a great turnout right there at their Breakpoint event. I love these. Man, look at the number of people. Breakpoint. I mean, this is pretty good for Star Atlas. What do you think about Star Atlas right now if you were going in on a gaming token?
Interesting chart. I mean, it's kind of all or nothing here. I mean, you probably don't want this if it makes a lower low below a 1/10 of a cent here, that area. But what we can look at here is we're making a higher low. That's a good sign. I mean, making a higher low is always a good sign. Let's look at the money flow. You follow the money coming into the green. I mean, here it was, you got to be careful though. Here it was a nightmare. It came down 86%. This thing is probably the most volatile thing I've looked at in a while. I mean, from all-time highs, we're down 99.1%.
Wow.
Very risky, but even if we don't get back up to all-time highs, even if you just get back up to these highs, it's a 500% potential. It looks very good, but just be careful. I mean, I've seen it many times. It looks very good, but just the money isn't there. A lot of people don't like to bet on things that have gone down 99% or more. It's rare something comes all the way back to make new all-time highs from coming down 99%, but a lot of times you can make money on them because they can do things during the bull run. I mean, could easily go up that 500%. If you can hold a 1/10 of a cent there, I don't want to say 80x. I kind of like, most likely you will not get back up to all-time highs. I'm just going to be real with you guys. Most likely you're not going to get back up to all-time highs, but you could probably, 5 cents could be a good goal. If you just, a 20 or 30x, if you want to throw down a small amount of money and just wait and see, you might be able to get a 20x. Very risky though, be careful. I usually don't even invest in coins like this, to be honest with you guys, but this one, maybe throw around this very small amount and just see.
So anyway, thanks again, Evan, for stopping in. We'll get you in on our next trading video. And of course, we got a lot of meme tokens that everybody's been asking about. So we'll have you get back on for that for sure. All right. Thanks for jumping in.
I'll see you.
All right. So you guys make sure and jump into the Diamond Circle right now. It is our own special private member group. And all you have to do is just visit paulbearnetwork.com and you'll find your access into the Diamond Circle. And it's very easy to dial into this. Just click the link down below and you can get started. Follow me on X, @PaulBearn. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.